Leeds, Leeds, Leeds. What is happening? Welcome to Working Hours, an oral history podcast about a place called Leeds, a time called now, and an activity called work. Working Hours wants to record 1,000 loiners over the course of this, the most important decade in the history of the human species, and ask them about what they do all day and hear how they feel about it. My name is Simon, and this is all my fault. My mission here is to try to map out what my city, Leeds, a city that has declared a climate emergency, did during humanity's biggest emergency. On Working Hours, we hear how loiners have, are, and will be coping with our multiple and expanding crises during their day-to-day working hours. Can we turn things around? We'll find out. To tell this story, I need loiners like you, dear listener. I need people in Leeds or people from Leeds to come on this podcast and just tell me what they do all day and let me record how this affects us. Thank you for listening.
What did you want to be when you grew up?
Oh, good question. I wanted to be a dancer when I was younger and also a lawyer. So they didn't really go together. But I'm really interested in law. Mm-hmm. It really thrills me, and obviously I love a detective novel as well. But yeah, I really like justice and law. So a lawyer or an FBI agent, which was another possibility. Obviously, the idea was to become a lawyer, move to New York, and become an FBI agent.
Okay.
So that didn't happen.
Yeah. And is there a lot of FBI agents in your family, or?
There's not. No, unfortunately not.
So I guess you got that idea from
came up with myself.
Film and TV then.
I think so. Ally McBeal played a huge part in that. And a film which, oh my gosh, what's the name of it? But it's about two women FBI agents and their training. And it's got Rebecca Delaney in it. And it's just the cheesiest thing ever. And one of them's like an ex-army person. She's really tough, but she's not really good on the educational side. And then you've got this other girl who's really good at this studying, but she's not good with a gun. Mm-hmm. And they team up. They hate each other at first. They team up, and I was like, yeah, I could do that. And they make fools out of the men, obviously. And it's yeah.
You are listening to Series 5, Episode 33, and to my guest, Janine Walker. This is another Squadcast interview recorded on the 2nd of the 5th, 2024. Hello, listener. Janine Walker reflects on her childhood dreams of becoming a lawyer or an FBI agent, influenced by TV shows and movies like Ally McBeal and a film about FBI agents called Feds, and it's from 1988, if you want to be a pedant about that. Janine didn't pursue these careers, but found fulfilment in the arts, volunteering for Leeds Children's Theatre, where she directs, choreographs, and leads workshops. Janine also co-organises a Twitter-based Christmas book swap inspired by Icelandic traditions, which has grown significantly, connecting people around the world. Janine has transitioned from a long-term banking job to becoming a debt advisor at Christians Against Poverty, or CAP, fueled by a desire to help others and leveraging her financial background to help. Janine discusses the challenges and rewards of this role, CAP's holistic support approach, and its environmentally conscious practices. She also touches on societal issues like child poverty, inadequate financial literacy, and the importance of community initiatives for financial stability. Right, let's do this. Episode 143 of Working Hours with Janine Walker.
So, I'm guessing you're not in the FBI now then. So what is it you're doing now?
No lawyer, no. I did do dancing for a while, right. And I'm still in the arts. Mm-hmm. As such. I volunteer for Leeds Children's Theatre, mm-hmm. and I direct for them and help to lead workshops for children on a Saturday morning. So that keeps me in, and I choreograph as well. So I do still keep my hand in mm-hmm. that, but not professionally, no.
I am aware of you and your work through another thing that you do, which is the Christmas book swap. So, tell us a little bit about that. What's that?
Well, it started when a friend of mine from work who's also on Twitter, she thought that it was a great idea that the Jólabókaflóð, which is the Icelandic tradition of exchanging books on Christmas Eve and spending the rest of the day and the evening eating chocolate and reading books, and she thought this was the best thing ever. And she made this big statement, I think we should have a Twitter exchange, and a few of us went absolutely yes, and I said yes, I will help you organise it. And so that started it was November 2018, and so we got about 30 people who joined in with us just from a thread, and then a couple of years, like the year after, it was like, we're doing this again, and we got double figures, we got 70 odd people, and like, wow, this is great. And yeah, then I created the actual handle, an account, because it was getting really big. And so yeah, we basically we pair people up who want to be involved, and they talk about books that they love and ask about recommendations, and then they eventually choose a book for each other and send it in the post, exchange addresses. It doesn't come to us, and then they wait until Christmas Eve, which is the exciting part. And sometimes, we say you don't have to, but we say, send a bit of chocolate, that'd be nice. And then we all open them on Christmas Eve, and it's just lovely. It's just very joyful and wholesome and cute, and it's really gone from strength to strength, and people do it all over the world now. So we have people from a lot of people in America, Canada, Germany, Prague, all sorts of places last year, and it's got Italy. It's really good fun, and it's just lovely. Sharing books, sharing stories, talking about the books that we've read afterwards.
Eating chocolate.
It's just lovely.
Yeah, eating chocolate. Yeah, that's the important part.
It's really nice. Some people send like gift baskets, like full-on gifts to people. But it's not just about the books. It is about the books. It's about sharing stories, trying to do it as cheaply as possible. And people do buy new books, but we like to encourage independent booksellers, but also pre-loved books and charity books and books from the little free libraries that are all over Leeds. Just basically not being wasteful, but also recommending books and stories and just making sure that they get passed on. But it's also about connecting and making new friends, and a lot of people have connected and become real life friends from Twitter. So it's quite nice to hear about those friendships that have bloomed, and people who come back year after year, because for a few people it's their only Christmas present. And I'm not trying to big us up, I'm not trying to make us sound like martyrs, because it's just a book, but it's actually a really nice surprise for a lot of adults who might not get a present, especially like single parents, male and female, who might not get anything that they don't know that they're getting. So to get a book that's a complete surprise and something for them, and the gift of giving as well. A lot of people enjoy that too, and one person said last year actually that that they love buying for people, but their most precious gift that they give is the Christmas book swap, and it's just lovely to hear. It's so nice, and just really joyful. I love it.
And it's nice that it's Christmas Eve as well, because it gives it that little bit of separation. You get something for Christmas Eve, and a lot of people, some people will keep it until Christmas Day because people are busy. Some people work. It's not hard and fast rule, but the Icelandic tradition is Christmas Eve, and the Jólabókaflóð. I have not said that correctly at all. My Icelandic is not good, but it means the Christmas book flood. It's a book flood, and because in Iceland most of the books get sold from September to December because of this tradition. And it's all about Christmas Eve. I think in a lot of countries they celebrate Christmas on Christmas Eve as well. Strange people in different countries. But different countries do it in different days. Some people do it the 20th. Some people do it like the 5th of December. Some people do it January.
Which
varies.
Is fine. But it does separate it off, and I think sometimes it's nice to have that bit of peace before the craziness of Christmas Day. And if you can grab 5 minutes or an hour with your book, and a cup of hot chocolate and a bit of chocolate from from a stranger, really. It's a nice thing. Yeah, it's a really lovely thing.
Yeah, and it's very evocative of Christmas as well, isn't it? Because like immediately you've got a book and some chocolate. You're immediately thinking at Christmas there's a log fire there and, a big comfy chair and maybe like some eggnog or whatever. It's a fun thing to do. I bet you're kind of amazed that it's going still.
It is going still. We've had a lot of issues though. We've had postal strikes.
Yeah.
We had the big Twitter exodus, which was fun, when a certain owner took over, who shall not be mentioned. A lot of people obviously decided to leave and they'd already signed up, and so when we came to matching people, we'd already done the draw, and of course there was people missing, so we had to swap over. We've had all sorts of stuff, but yeah, it is interesting, and we meet some really interesting characters and people who are really, really into it, and people who don't communicate. We see it all, but it's lovely, and it's getting a lot busier. So we might be recruiting for another book elf soon, to come and help us with the admin, because it's actually quite a lot around that time, especially when you have busy lives and other things going on and family and stuff. So there's only two of us who run it, but we might have to recruit a third.
Can you automate much of it, or is it all?
Well, when we first did it, me and my friend used to work together, and we don't anymore, but we used to work for a bank, and we did it on our lunch break, because there was only 30 people, 70 people. I think the third year was like 120 people, something like that.
Yeah.
And we did it literally out of a cup. It was a massive tea mug on pieces of paper, and we just matched them up and then wrote them down, and it was really simple. And now we use like spreadsheets, and we both have access to it, and we try and keep up with it. And then when we do the draw, we spend an evening, me and Carly get together, and we drink Baileys. Baileys is definitely important in the book exchange, and we have an evening together. But the last 2 years have gone on past midnight, but not in a good way.
Yeah.
We really need to get this done. And as soon as people start getting the matches, they get really excited, like, oh, I've got my match. But then, of course, you've got other people who are like, well, I haven't heard anything. And then they start DMing saying, I haven't had my match. It's like, that's because we really can't. It's got to be one at a time, and there's like 300 of you. So last year it was over 400 people participating. So yeah, I am looking for some technical advice on how to not necessarily automate. I really don't know how it can work, but definitely a slicker system to make sure that everybody gets their message.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
we'll see.
It's kind of good that you've got that staggered thing, because you get the engagement of people going, oh, I've got mine, and then people, fussing about, oh, well, why haven't I got mine? So some of that you could use, which would be quite good. But yeah, planning it would be, how you stage it and stagger it.
Yeah.
But then you've got to
send
automate.
us lovely messages saying thank you.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, thank you so much. That's so great. It's like, oh, please don't message us while we have put messages out. Please be patient. We really love it that you've been thankful, but just wait till afterwards. Maybe wait till tomorrow. And it's nice to get back to everyone, but engaging with everybody around that time is also really hard. And making it sound like it is definitely a lot, but it's really good fun.
Yeah.
And Carly and I have both taken on new jobs. Mine last year and hers the year before, and they're quite intense jobs, so we have to be really careful with ourselves and our energy, and also balance it with our family too.
Yeah, because it's that whole thing of like, because it all has to happen at the last minute. It's like putting on a show, isn't it? It's like you're coming up to show time, so there's not much you can do about that. You can't really stagger it out through the year, or break it up into really manageable chunks. It's like it all has to happen now.
Yes. It does, yeah. And I know about that because I do shows too. So yeah, when there's a deadline. I do work well to a deadline though, so it's a good job. Yeah. We both do actually. Yeah.
Let's go into how you got into it. So I guess with the day job, because we've kind of talked about how the Christmas book swap came about. How did you get into the current position? You mentioned the bank previously.
My current work.
Yeah.
Actual paid work.
Yeah. If you don't mind talking about it.
I know, I don't mind at all. So I worked for, am I allowed to mention the bank?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, sure. I worked for the Halifax bank for 21 years. So I know it was quite a stretch. And Carly was there, I think, about 16 years. So we're both quite long-term employees and done so many different jobs within that time. So I haven't done the same job. Lots of different departments, different areas, mainly mortgages. And it sounds really boring. And yes, it was, actually. No, it wasn't. It was, I quite enjoy it. But yeah, so it was, it was what it was. And it really, it's been a constant support, I guess, throughout my life. So throughout my personal life, about everything happening, getting married, having children, separating, getting divorced, having to reduce hours. They're a really good employer, and I would not ever knock them. I would recommend them if you are interested in banking or finance in any way. They're a really good employer, and they look after the people, and they're definitely looked after me, and I'm very grateful. But it's with being a creative, it's not something that I ever wanted to go into.
Yeah.
And I stayed for 2 decades, so it was definitely time to leave when redundancy was announced. So I ended up taking redundancy, volunteering for it, which was a huge decision because I hadn't applied for a job since, I think, 2003 was the last time I'd done an application in the CV. So it was a whole different world. Yeah. And I tried to apply for jobs in theatre because I've got a lot of 30 years of experience in theatre, do workshops, directing, obviously the admin, marketing. I do everything pretty much. And I'd like to think I know a lot about theatre. But then every time I went for a position, they loved my energy and they loved that I knew a lot about that I knew theatre. But there's always someone else that had done the job before and they really wanted someone to, hit the ground running a bit more than I possibly could. So I always got pipped to the post and it was usually it was between you and someone else and we've gone with the other person. So it was really disappointing because I'm not used to the rejection of going for jobs. So, and the whole process, it was a huge learning curve and quite a difficult time really. But then I'd always had my eye on Christians Against Poverty. And even though I was absolutely adamant I was never going into another finance job ever again because I'd done 20 years and that's enough. I ended up just going on the websites and I did used to get their emails and the job came up and it was one that I'd never wanted to do. I'd visited CAP previously. I did a church college course at Life Church in Bradford, and one of the days we visited CAP just to see what they did and to have a tour basically and meet the founder John Kirkby, and that was it was just amazing. The whole place, it was just so inspiring. And I came out of there thinking, I want to work there. And I went around all the departments and there was communications and events and fundraising and all these amazing departments. And then, of course, there was debt advice. And I was like, yeah, that's the only one I don't want to do. I do not want to be in a position where I'm actually talking to people who are in crisis. I don't think I could cope with that. And so I came away going, I'd love to work for them, but that's the only place I wouldn't want a job. And of course, the job was debt advisor, trainee debt advisor. And so it was the deadline day, and I just went, I'm going to do it. And it was just the best application I've ever done. It was the easiest application I've ever done. And it was easy because I've worked in finance before, and I know about the financial side of debt. But then, of course, dealing with actual people, I have dealt with people because I've dealt with customers. So it was just really easy to apply for. And when I went for the interview, I just felt really confident, but in a, a knowing way. That sounds really big-headed, but I just knew I wanted to be there and everything seemed to fit. And thankfully, I got the job. So, and that was last June. Last June I started. Yeah. So I've been there 10 months, nearly 11 months. So it's amazing.
Are you still on the debt side then? Are you still doing
I am. It's so hard. I can't. Yeah, really hard, but so rewarding. I've just passed my train. It takes a year to train up as a debt advisor, and you have to, because we're FCA regulated, and you have to do exams. So I passed my exams, and then because there are so many different varieties of debt, it's not just credit cards and loans, mortgages. It's things like parking fines, court fines. Oh gosh, council tax arrears. It's huge. And in the bank, I was used to concentrating on one area, so I became an expert in mortgages or savings. With this, you have to know everything, and also about eviction notices, and what do we do when someone comes to us and says, I've had an eviction notice. What do we do when someone's got an enforcement agent knocking at the door and they're calling us saying, help, I don't know what to do, and I'm scared. And it's quite intense at times, but our job is to give them the best advice about their debt as possible, but also support them in a more holistic way. So we're looking at their entire life and trying to support them moving out of debt, but moving into a better mental space as well. So it's we just want to see lives transformed, and it's amazing what we do, and I get to play a small part of that, and I'm really grateful.
I mean, it must be nice to be, I mean, other than those, I mean, they're kind of like headline kind of horror story events of like dealing with emergencies, but I guess I'm guessing that you've got a better relationship with the people that you're dealing with than you would have within the bank, because you're not the lender. You're not like, I mean, it's like they try and be nice, but it's also like the guy you owe money to coming around and going, well, I'm being nice.
Yes. Also talking about them as clients rather than customers, that's interesting, because we are providing a service, but we're working for them, and we're petitioning on their behalf. So we're also representing them, and it's a totally different ballgame. The bank, I tried to help people as much as I could, and same here as well. We are regulated. We do have rules, and there has to be red tape, because we can't just go around doing what we want. We know we are regulated, so we are restrained to a certain point. But with us being a charity with faith as its core, we are partnering with local churches, and so it's a more personal way of supporting someone. So, and we will help anybody. You do not have to be a Christian to come and help, but we are Christians, and we offer prayer, we offer, all sorts of support, and we have people going to people. So there are only 3 free debt advice services in the UK, and one of them, the largest one, is Step Change, which obviously isn't any denomination. I don't think it's
also in Leeds, though.
It's a national thing, and they do a very similar job to us, and they do an amazing job. But they work all over the phone, whereas we do the same thing, but we will come into your home and we'll work on a local level. So there'll be someone who is from your area, who, hopefully, because we're trying to reach as many places as we can, because it does depend on the church network and, volunteers as well, because we're a charity. And so we have people go into their homes or meet them at a centre or at the church to sit with them and to talk to them as people. And I think our clients appreciate that personal touch. A cup of tea and a biscuit goes a long way, basically. And having someone come into your home when you are, feeling lost and overwhelmed, and having them take your post away or open post with you is such a gift, because I remember being there. I've had it's a good thing really, because I know how people feel, but I've been there before where I've not wanted to open post. And it's not been anything terrible either, to be honest. It's just been, I just couldn't cope with what might be in the letter.
Yeah, and you don't want to think about it, because most of the time it's like it's there in the back of your head, but you think about it more when, you get the letter or the phone rings, or it's like, I just want to not think about it, just for as long as I can.
Yeah, and people bury their heads. And it is understandable and it is natural to do that. But of course, then it becomes more overwhelming. It gets built up.
Yeah, it gets worse.
And
because all the interest charges are going on.
And, and it might not even be that bad.
Yeah. And then the thing is, the sooner you address it, and you can, because you don't have to, so long as you're paying something, as long as you made an agreement, you're showing the willingness to pay, you're paying something towards it, you're legally doing what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, and it's about communication too. There's a lot of businesses who, if you show willing and if you communicate with them, they could create an agreement. They do have room to do that. But people get so scared, and understandably so, because when they get letters from, even from a credit card company or from a bank that has a red line on it, and it says you must pay, and they put the full balance on, and otherwise there will be action, and they don't say what it is, they just say there will be action, and you think, oh my gosh, they're going to come round, there's going to be guys with baseball bats, there's going to be court cases, and it escalates in your mind, and actually some of these letters are just it's just smoke and mirrors, because they're trying to make people so scared that they will get in touch or that they will make a payment that they can't afford. And so actually some people will choose to pay because they're so scared, make a payment rather than buying food that week. And that's what we don't want. We want people to have a sustainable budget. We want people to be able to either make their payments if they can afford to repay, or we need to help them to look at their debts and look at their circumstances, and maximise their income, minimise their expenditure, and look at the debt and address that in various different ways of different routes out of debt. So sometimes it is insolvency, and there are different versions of that. And that looks very different for everybody. But then there's also a repayment route, which if they can afford it, we can help with that too. So there's lots of different options for people. And I think it's having someone come alongside and support and educate in some ways as well, because a lot of people do not know how to manage their finances. And so it's equipping them and encouraging them to take control of that. We won't do it for them, or we will do some and we will help, but it's also about getting them into a position that they can deal with things themselves ongoing after they get out of debt. What does that look like? And trying to get the best, because there's so many benefits as well that are not being claimed, and a lot of people don't. And we're not benefit advisors, we're not legal advisors, but we can, or mortgage advisors even, but we can try and point them in the right direction.
Signpost.
And try and get them to have reviews and things like that, and to get advice where we can, give full advice. But we do our best.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like citizens' advice or something, isn't it? Of like, we're not lawyers and tax advisors, although some of them are sometimes because they're volunteers and stuff. But we're not giving you necessarily legal and tax advice, but we will send you to the right places and give you the kind of broad strokes of what it is, but we're not liable.
Yes. Oh, yeah, definitely, yeah. You've got to be careful. Yeah. I had to be very careful today. Because the thing is, coming from a mortgage background, I know a lot about mortgages. I've got 20 years of it, but I'm not allowed to use that. I'm not allowed to, and also a lot of people who have mortgages, who are lucky enough to have a property and a mortgage, who might be in difficulty, might want to extend the mortgage, or they might want to take out further lending, and that's something that we can't encourage people to get into more debt to repay debt, but sometimes that is an answer. So we have a specialist team who deal with complex cases, and that's a really interesting team too. So I'm only 10 months in. But I absolutely love it. I love the organisation and what they stand for. They're dynamic. They are just such lovely people who are really trying to transform lives and work to end UK poverty. And that's obviously something we're all dreaming of. But part of that is education as well. So I have children, and they don't get financial advice at school, and I honestly think it should be part of education, because it can usually, getting into debt is it can lead to all sorts of other issues, and also other issues can lead to debt too. So it's a whole minefield of what's the future look like for people. So we try to champion about that as well, and talk to the government. We're always in talks with the government, whoever's in power, to try and just look towards the future, basically.
Yeah. I was saying to someone the other day, with maths in school, it's like, why do we learn numbers really at all? Because, I mean, how many people are actually going to be measuring stuff? And how many people are actually going to be counting change now? You know, like, because it's all electronic, or the till will tell you how much change to give. So, but it should all be just money. Just teach people money, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I remember I used to say I never knew how to write a check until someone showed me how to write a check and how to use a checkbook. And of course, we don't have checkbooks, we don't have paying in books, but we have online banking and we have other apps that help us with budgeting. So that new technology is something that I've had to pick up, and I'm sure there'll be new things further down the line in my life that I will not be able to pick up because I'm getting too old. But kids should be taught that now as much as possible, in like a general living, like life skills, isn't it? Skills to do life with. But my children have been taught by me in the supermarkets about weights and cost, because when we do it, because sometimes, 2 for 1 isn't as good as the bigger pack, and things, the offers aren't always that good. So sometimes you've got to look at how much weight are you getting for your pound. And I wouldn't say I do that all the time, but I do tend to do that, and I try and make the kids do maths around the supermarket because I'm a bit of an evil mum, really.
But I think the problem with maths is because it's quite often unrelatable, and the teachers have often made it boring, because how many people that, like, maths is always the one that everyone hates. It's like, oh, I'm no good at maths. And people, they've decided, because they had a bad experience with it in school, and then they're like, I'm bad at maths. It's like, you're not. You're fine with maths. Like, you just haven't been taught well.
We need the basics, don't we? I always said algebra is, you wouldn't need algebra. You only need to learn that if you want to become a maths teacher, and that's it. Okay, that's not true, is it really? Because there's lots of jobs, very complex jobs that use algebra. But the whole maths thing just used to do my nutting. But again, I'm quite a creative person, and yet I'm sounding very boring, because I used to work in mortgages, and now I work in finance, and I work in debt advice, and it's not just about the job, is it? I do love the job, and I really do love it. But I also really love the people, and I like the experiences being in work, and I like talking to clients, even though it's hard sometimes. Sometimes it's great. And we talk to debt coaches all the time too, who are the people who are on the front line, who are amazing. They go into people's homes. They go with a befriender as well. They go with someone for safety, obviously. But they go out there and deal with people on the front line, and and some of them, a lot of them are volunteers, and they don't get paid. So they are actually like just the champions of CAP. They're amazing. And we absolutely love them and couldn't do without them, because they're the people who reach out and, organise food shops and fuel vouchers and get all the information to us, which is important. So,
Cool. So I'm going to go into the questions. So I'm going to start us off with COVID. So I want you to think about here is, as we went into lockdown, did you end up working the same, more, less? And then coming out of lockdown, what sort of changed for you work-wise? Were there any kind of permanent changes?
So when lockdown happened, I was working for the bank, and I used to do 3 days because I'm a single parent and I have my children. So I used to work 3 days with weird hours. So bank was always against us working from home because we would have, the nation's information on a laptop and it's dangerous. So it's understandable. A lot of places felt the same. Lockdown happened. And of course it was right, how do we do this? So after, I think, 5 weeks of doing nothing at home, but thankfully still being paid, which was great to be with the kids, but also quite scary at the time, if I remember correctly. We got issued with these amazing laptops and we started working from home, and it was really hard because I'm quite a person, I like speaking to people, I like people, I'm a people person, and I realised that most of my actual day-to-day job was, at least 50% of it was making sure other people were okay, and was doing things like being on the place to be committee and doing things like organising events and having meetings where, meetings for meeting's sake. Whereas being at home, I had to actually just do my job, and I realised that I really didn't like my actual job. So that was a bit pants. But yeah, it was really hard because it's isolated. I felt isolated, and like I said, the work at that time wasn't interesting. My team had been changed as well, so I had that to deal with, and that was based in Chester. And then during lockdown, or the second lockdown, I got moved to the office in Glasgow and Bristol. So we were split between, which are completely opposite sides to Leeds, like 4 hours one way, 5 hours the other. So we were never going to meet up with our team, and we were never going to be able to go into the office. So it was very much, you are staying at home. And I did that for, a couple of years, really, till 2022. And I never went back into the office until I left. So I always thought I would dance out of the office when I left. I thought, I will dance out. I loved it, but I will dance. And I didn't. I just turned off my laptop one day. It was really, really rubbish.
Yeah, anticlimactic career end of...
Yeah. I wouldn't like to think it wasn't a career. I don't like to see it as a career because I never meant to go into it. No, not at all. It was supposed to be 6 months. It was supposed to be like a summer thing. It really didn't. 21 years. But that was my experience. And so when I came out of that, we didn't go back to the office. The work had kind of changed, but had got really boring. Really boring. They should have had a robot doing what we did, unfortunately. And so that was coming to an end because they realised that there were too many people which is why we got made redundant, because there were so many people who they were trying to sort out during lockdown and during a big change in Leeds as well. A lot of people, we thought we were getting made redundant before lockdown, because I used to work at PPI. So when that ended, we all thought 6 months we'd finish, and then they moved us to Chester. But we didn't go to Chester, obviously. We went home and made banana bread. That's what we did. We made banana bread, logged onto the computer, ate the banana bread. That was it.
So coming out the other side, I guess it's new job, and we're back up to speed, aren't we? Really? I had 6 months of being unemployed, where I pretty much spent all my redundancy. So it was a bit. Soon guys done it.
I did pay off some debt though, so that's good. Put me in a good position, and had some time at home, but it wasn't good time. It's probably the most time I'll ever have off until I retire. But unfortunately, it wasn't time that I could spend in a decent way or a productive way because I was worried. I didn't know what I wanted to be. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I did some life coaching. It's amazing. I would recommend it to anybody. At first, I was really, really... I was just... what's the word? I was just suspicious. Just was like, am I the sort of person who has a life coach? No. But I didn't really get what it meant. But then my main aim was to get a job. And so my friend Grant Morley, who is an amazing life coach, he basically said you'd be helping me out because he was just starting out, and he puts it to me as I'd be helping him out, and of course it was a complete trick. He was just to try and get me to do it, Yeah, and it was great. I still do it now, so we see each other like, at least once a month, and it's really good to kind of check in with yourself, really, and to try and look at how you work and what you want out of life, and how you want to go about it, and perhaps how you are as a person, how does that affect everything else around you. And it's really interesting. I got to know myself quite well. Oh, I just said that. I got to know myself quite well. Yeah. Sorry. But anyway, yeah. But during that time as well, that 6 months where I finished at the Halifax and started at CAP, I was also directing a show at the Carriage Works Theatre in Leeds, and I was doing A Monster Calls, which is by Patrick Ness, a story by Patrick Ness, and an adaptation for the stage. And it was amazing, but it was really stressful. And so I spent a lot of time plowing myself into that show, and it was really good, but it was really sad because I don't know. Do you know the story? I won't tell you it.
I know the film's supposed to be quite good, and it's one that I've got on the list that I haven't watched it. You know,
watch the film.
Okay.
It's brilliant. It's really good. It's quite sad. I will not tell you the story, but the premise is that this boy is his mother is ill and she has cancer, and so he's coming to terms with how he feels about that, and he's getting bullied at school. He's got a grandmother who is estranged to him, and his dad lives in America with his new family, so he's quite isolated, but he's also caring for his mum. And it's about his life really coming to terms with that, but also dealing with her deterioration. It is really sad. But this monster comes and he tells him stories over a few nights. He said, I'm going to tell you 3 stories, and on the 4th night you will tell me your truth. And of course, the truth is the thing that the boy Connor doesn't want to admit, and it's that he loves his mother so much and he wants her to stay, but he also wants it to be over. And I think a lot of people who have seen the film or have read the book or came to see the play, I think even as adults, even though it's supposed to be like a children's book, I think a lot of people can understand that, especially as we're getting older and we may have elderly parents that we're looking after, even because the guilt of thinking of just that lack of energy to deal with it all and wanting it to be over, but also it being over means that you lose, a loved one. So it's dealing with death, dealing with guilt, it was all these huge issues, dealing with children, caring for their ill parents, cancer. It was really depressing, but it was also very, very beautiful, and we told it in a really beautiful way, as the story is, and it was, I think that time of my life was obviously really hard because I was unemployed, but it was also a really special time, and that play will always have like a really, really meaningful and special place in my heart.
I mean, that's an amazing thing to get to do in the middle of that whole experience, isn't it?
It's just timing, isn't it? Yeah. It's just weird timing, but it's one of the things I could have done without, to be honest, but it also kept me going. So you just have to crack on, don't you? And and I think if I hadn't had that on, I don't know, I don't think I'd have got a job any quicker, because it was a huge process of just coming to terms with the fact that I wasn't going to be a theatre person or work in theatre. And I went for about 4 different theatre jobs, but admin theatre jobs. And I guess that probably wasn't the right place for me. I quite enjoy doing what I do, and I like being involved in the creative process of making theatre and teaching children. And I love that, and I think to have a job in theatre as well perhaps would have taken away from my what is essentially a hobby, but it's definitely a life dedication. Leeds Children's, I've been in Leeds Children's Theatre since I was 12, and I'm secretary, I'm everything basically, but I'm not everything at all. There's a great group of us who help to run it. But it's wonderful.
Well, is it one of those where everybody's everything, everyone's doing everything all the time?
I try to be. I do too much. Yeah. I try to be. I get told off. I get told to delegate more and to let other people have a chance now. Yeah. So.
All right, we'll do Brexit next. I don't know if this will have a a major effect on you, work-wise. So, since we have Brexited, have you noticed any change in your work, how you work, the kind of work you do, the amount of work you do? Like, has it changed anything for you?
Only slightly. Again, I've only been in my position 10 months, but obviously immigration laws, we have to keep on top of a lot of law and a lot of the like policies and procedures and of just everything, really. And so keeping an eye on what's going on in Europe, because we have a lot of people who live here who have the right to remain, but sometimes immigration status is an issue. So if we are recommending insolvency, because that's perhaps the only route that we can recommend, then we have to make sure that they've checked their, where they're at with that. And yeah, it can be a bit sticky, but it's, in general, I've not seen much. I voted Remain. Let's put it like that. And I think a lot of people weren't as educated on the matter as they could have been before they voted.
Yeah,
but
well, we'll see how today plays out as well, won't we?
What was that?
We'll see how today plays out as well, won't we?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Fun. Yeah, they're always keeping us out on our toes, aren't they?
Yeah. I'm not making any further comment.
I know, perhaps it's best. Let's stop that one. Next.
So the next one is social media. So what I want to look at here is, well, I guess I say what I'm looking at is return on investment. But what I'm really asking is, like, do you get it and do you get anything out of it? Like, or is it just annoying? I mean, the question is, like, how much time do you spend doing it and do you get the kind of returns you want? Does it get you, the customers, the clicks, the likes, the attention, like, or is it just a pain?
I don't care about that. So I could not give a hoot about who is following me. I don't look at my followers. I don't look at my number of followers. I don't tend to follow back straight away anymore, just because I want to engage with that person or that account first. So mainly I'm talking about Twitter. I'm sorry, I'm going to call it Twitter because it's apparently called X now, but how rubbish is that?
Who calls it X?
So
nobody calls it X.
Nobody calls it X. Why did he do it anyway? Whatever. I really love Twitter. And I started when Stephen Fry was on. It was about, I'm coming up to this was about 13 and a half years ago. And Stephen Fry was on Radio 2. And he was basically talking about this thing called Twitter. And how lots of celebrities and himself was on there. And they engaged with, normal folk. And so I thought this was like, okay, that's great. So I went on there, got the handle that I wanted, the @ thing, and because it's my nickname, and I was really chuffed that I'd got that. But then I was like, oh, how do we play this game? And it didn't seem like it did anything. Like, what do? You put a thought out there, and then nothing happens, and then you put another thought out, and I did not get it. So about 4 years maybe, I went on, said something, came off, didn't understand, to be honest. And then I don't know what changed, but I did start using it more regularly and start interacting with people. And there's whole pockets of Twitter that are different. So I've got my book Twitter, film Twitter, friends all over the world who we will sit down and watch a film, like at the same time with different time zones. It's very sad, but it really helped during lockdown. That
doesn't sound sad. It sounds great.
It was fantastic. I'll invite you next time. So, I tend to stay away from negativity just in general. So I use the mute and block button quite a lot for accounts that I'm just not interested in, or make my timeline horrible because they'll retweet things that I'm not interested in seeing. So my timeline's quite good. And of course, everyone's different because they'll be interested in different things. So I think first of all, I started off with cake. Like I just put in hashtag cake. and then just found loads of cake accounts who were showing off their cakes, because I used to make cakes, so I was like, oh, okay. So yeah, it was just things like that really. And Stephen Fry would post stuff and I'd look at news on there. But now I've got I've got friends who I've met on there that I talk to every day, and I know in real life now, who I met on Twitter. And I know that sounds sad, and also I tell my children not to talk to people on the internet. So it's kind of, they often say to me, "Mummy, is this someone else on Twitter?" Some stranger. Yes, but I've been talking to them for 5 years, darling. It's absolutely fine. We're meeting at a public place. It's okay. So yeah, but it's, for me, I enjoy that because it's a bit of I use it as an online diary a little bit. Again, I don't care if people engage with what I'm saying. Some people will be like, "Oh my gosh, totally understand that. Oh, I get that." Blah, blah, blah. And sometimes it's nice just to get thoughts out of your head. Other times I'll be engaging with other people and I'll be agreeing with them, or I don't necessarily argue, but I might, put points across if I don't agree, or have a discussion. I don't argue on there. I don't use it as a place to vent in a angry way, mostly, I don't think. So mainly I just try and keep it light and silly, I guess. But then, of course, I have Facebook, which, oh gosh, yeah, there's all sorts of people on there. And then there's all these new ones that have popped up that I've joined and I don't really engage with. I'm on Blue Sky, which is the new one, but I don't really go on there anymore. And there's Threads, isn't there, and Instagram. Yeah, I don't know. I like photos. I like taking photos, even of my food. I know, I'm one of those. Hey, look, this is my dinner tonight. I don't know why I do it. Honestly, I don't know why I do it. But I don't know, sometimes it's nice to share random things. And I think it's company. I think a lot of people go on there for company. And I think I'm definitely one of them. And a bit of, affirmation in a way. Yeah. So there's all sorts of psychological reasons why people do it and post pictures of themselves dressed up, good to go out. And I definitely do that as well. I'm off out. I've got heels on. How long? Let's take bets on how long it'll be before I kick them off and scream at my ankles and all that sort of thing. So yeah, it's just a bit of silliness on my part, really. And like I say, I've met loads of amazing people through that. I've not met one person on there in real life who's not been awesome. So I'm very lucky.
So
I think.
With the Christmas book swap, was Twitter the obvious home for it for you both, or were you just like, no, it has to be Twitter, I demand it?
No, we were both on Twitter. So Carly was on Twitter, and I think we both were on Twitter around the same time, but she didn't realise I was on, I didn't realise she was on. And then I started following her, and she was absolutely devastated that someone from her real life dared follow her when it's her thing. And she didn't have a name on at that point. She had she was called something else, Eve Says So, or something like that. So she was called Eve because she used to have a blog, and she called herself Eve rather than her real name. So like I started following her, not realising who she was. She knew who I was because I had my face up there and said stupid things like I said at work. And so she was like, I can't believe you're following me. It was really funny, actually. But we both talked about the book exchange on Twitter. So yes, it had to be on Twitter. And then we have had other people ask if we, I've got a friend who really wants to join in, but they're on Instagram, they're not on Twitter. It's like, well, yes, but we just could not do the admin of cross-platforming. We just couldn't. And I don't understand how he would do it either, because it's all about being in... What was that?
You need a website.
Interesting. I don't know. But the thing is, you can do... The idea of it is that you can do it anywhere and with anyone. So someone... there was one gentleman in... I was in India, and he really, really wanted to join in. And I was just like, there's no countries around you, because we try and... What we do is we do the swap with everybody, but we keep the people who are in different countries in a different pot, and we try and match them within their same country. Otherwise, the postage would be extortionate. Yeah. And we had, I think the second year or the third year, we had people from other countries, and we were like, do we let them? Do we just say it's UK only? But then we said we could, and a lot of people, we put it out there and we just said, do people want to do it? People from the UK said, yeah, that'd be so cool. So they swapped with people in America, but the time, the expense, it was just too much. So now we try and get them. And I will even look at, I'm rubbish at geography, I will look at a map of America and try and find them closer together. Like, who knew that Florida was nowhere near Montana? I honestly do not know. I don't even know where Coventry is. So, it's just, yeah. So we try and do that. So if we get people, and sometimes like we had, I think it was like 3 people in Germany. So we had like one person did 2. So, we've had other times where it's been like neighbouring countries because it's not too bad for posts within Europe. But of course, Brexit also has brought the postal difficulties, and sending things, you now have to like say what you're sending in the post on everything, even if it's just a book. So you go to the post office, you're sending it to, to Ireland.
And nobody has any idea how much the tax or the duty or anything is on anything. So even when it gets there, you don't know if you've finished paying for it, if it's coming back, if you'll ever see it again, if it'll get to where it's going.
Yep. So it's quite... oh my gosh. So what was the original question? Twitter. On Twitter. Book swap. There we go. Right. Got you. So... yeah, we couldn't cross-platform. It would be too hard. Twitter's where me and Carly basically live, so we just made it there. And anybody who doesn't have, so that the guy in India, I just said, I was like, I'm really sorry that we can't find anyone in a neighbouring country, or this, within the country, to swap with you. But do you have any friends, neighbours, work colleagues? Literally, just tell them the idea. This is not our idea. This is not our idea. We have nicked it from the Icelandic people. And I think people have been giving books to each other for longer than that even. It doesn't have to be a national holiday for you to give someone a book. So the idea is sound. It isn't us. We are not, responsible. And so he was just like, that's a great idea. I think people at work would love it. Do it. So at Christmas at CAP, I'd been there like 6 months. And I said to them, I do this Christmas book swap on Twitter. Do you want to do it in-house? And so we had a Christmas book swap in the workplace as well. So, of course, I organised that too. It was a busy year last year. But that was fun. And everyone said how nice it was. And it was just, it's just lovely.
Yeah.
Just lovely.
I mean, it's much better than a Secret Santa, isn't it? Secret Santa's... there's too much politics in a Secret Santa. And even if you limit, like, it's £10, it's like... yeah, but what can you get, or 15, whatever. It's like, what can you get for this that's any good, that someone will like, And then, and you can't, even if you go for a book or a CD or something, you don't know what they've got and what they haven't got and what they like. And yeah, with just a book, it's just like, it's a book and some chocolate. You're going to like the chocolate probably, and you might like the book.
Yeah, exactly. And hopefully, because the book, actually, that does actually happen, because people worry about whether they're going to get a book they've already read. So they talk about, so we ask them to talk about the types of book that they like, and maybe books they've read in the past, or authors that they've enjoyed, or authors that they'd like to read in the future. And I guess it's kind of giving them, like, what sorts of genres that they like. And it's giving them clues on what kind of book that they would like. Last year, it was, I don't know why no one's ever done this before, but someone said, we're just gonna basically tell each other, like, give each other a list of 4 or 5 books that we want, and we're going to choose from there. That's amazing. What a fantastic idea. Yeah, do that. Because then you're definitely going to get a book that you want, or that you haven't read. And I think sometimes I've got 2 books now over the years that I've read previously, and I've just said thank you very much, and I've re-gifted them to other people, because that's the whole point. Yeah. So passing on books. So, and sometimes it's nice to have people talk about recommendations that they would say, I read this book, it was amazing. And then if they get to know that person, it's like, you might like that. I think, you'll love it. Or to say, actually, I like this genre, but you like a different genre. What would you recommend for me to get into that? And then some people will try something new. So it's just nice. We just play about with it, basically. It's up to them. It's just about swapping a book. That's it.
Yeah.
We just make it complicated for the sake of it.
But what kind of book? How big? How many pages? What?
Exactly.
Doesn't matter.
Does it have to be new? We get these questions all the time. Like, does it have to be new? Do I have to send them a gift receipt? Do it? Oh, what? No, just pick a book. Write your own. Send it. It's fine. Whatever.
I mean, you can if you want. Do it that way if you want, but it's up to you.
It is. Yeah, we just encourage. We encourage like pre-loved books as well, because we don't want people. The most expensive thing should be the postage. That's what I say. Because you can use one of your own books, you can get a book from a charity shop for £1. You know, you shouldn't have to be spending a tenner on a book. But if you are going to buy a new book, try independent. But also, our big bookstores also could do the business, because we don't want to see Dewey Smiths and Waterstones go either. But yeah, let's share the economy, let's share the finances. Let's try and build the economy up.
Oh yeah. In general, just go spend money.
Yeah, just if you can,
have some confidence.
Spend money if you can.
Yeah.
That's the key, isn't it? If you have disposable income,
dispose of it, because the rest of us need it to have. We need your confidence in the economy so that we can have jobs.
Absolutely, yeah. Definitely. We were advocates for that.
Okay, so let's go on to climate change. So
what, sorry?
Climate change. So
you're really challenging me to
big questions. So again, it's with a work focus. So is there anything that you can do in your job with regards to dealing with climate change? So I normally ask about, awareness raising or adaptation mitigation. I'm thinking here with your role that it would be more things that you could potentially do in the workplace, like small changes rather than.
I've got to say, CAP is really already quite green.
Yeah.
I mean, our colour is green. Yeah. If you look us up, that's CAP green, and we already do that, because when we send our advocates out from the local church, is someone local to them, and we have postcodes of certain areas that we cover. We don't unfortunately cover all the UK, but we do try and make sure that it's within reasonable distance for people to travel to, and not have to spend too much money on petrol, I guess. It's it's paperless as much as we can be, because some people want to have a piece of paper, especially elderly people, and we have a lot of older people or people who may need things explaining and highlighting, and we do large print and stuff like that, and we deal with a lot of vulnerable people basically. So the options are always there, but obviously we send emails too, and I'd like to think that we do what we can. We have, I'm trying to think of even just little things like coffee and tea and that. We all bring our own mugs and things, and we have every floor. This is actually quite swish, but it saves money for everybody. So it was the best. When I went in, I was so shocked. There's a tiny kitchen on each floor, just like a sideboard really, and it's got like a hot tap. And I was like, whoa, that's a bit. Oh, for a charity, spending money on a hot tap. But when you think about all the people who want coffee and who need coffee to fuel themselves, and tea, let's not forget the tea drinkers, weirdos they are. So there's a hot tap, because it's actually more economic than having a kettle boiled many, many, many times a day, and for time as well. So it's not costing the business in time with people getting things like so. That's a really tiny thing, really tiny, but I was really impressed by that. And they use, one of the things that they use for washing up, because there's a sink obviously, is I can't remember the brand, but it's like it's a washing up liquid that's eco-friendly. What is it?
Ecover, is it? Or one of the other ones?
Yeah, yes, you have that. And I was like, Ew. So I was really impressed when I first turned up. I was like, oh, this is an organisation with a conscience. But they do, they are. They practice what they preach. So it's, but I don't know about the bigger picture, I'm afraid. We don't really spend a lot of money on doing like flying people to other places or anything like that. We're not like, we're a small but mighty organisation. There we go. and we do what we can. But yeah, we are actually in Australia, Canada, and America. I think New Zealand. So we have head offices there. We've kind of branched out. So it started in Bradford, and it's now pretty much all over in different countries. So that's pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah, very impressive.
But I don't really know I don't know what else we do. Shall I find out? I'll make it my challenge.
Yeah, send me a link. I'll put it in the show notes of all your green credentials. I mean, you don't spoil it or anything, do you, by driving into work in a huge Hummer, or you don't fly in? Or
I do drive a time, yeah. What we also do hybrid working as well, working from home. So when I first did my training, because I went from 3 days a week to full time, and I've got 2 children, and they're older now, but they are still needing their mom. And so, yeah, going full time was really hard. But when I was training, I needed to be there full time, and so driving in every day was like, whoa, my fuel bill, crazy. But now I get to work from home as well as work in the office. I do prefer it in the office though. But yeah, I could probably get there. It'd probably take me a couple of trains, maybe a couple of buses. I'm not sure. But yeah, I do drive. Sorry, climate.
Well, it's not your fault you live in, a city that desperately needs a really good, rapid mass transport system and doesn't have one.
It really does. I'm not quite sure what that looks like, to be honest. And they keep on changing the city centre, and it's almost like they're trying to make it more and more inaccessible.
I think the point of the loop now is just to send you insane. Just you go in here and then you go crazy.
Oh, the loop. Honestly, the loop, I could deal with the loop previously.
When it was a loop?
Last year, before it changed. I knew the loop. People come to Leeds and go, I don't understand the loop. I'm like, I know the loop. Yeah. I know how to get around Leeds. If I need to get somewhere, I know how to work the system. Now, oh my gosh, I got myself stuck on Park Road the other day. Who goes down Park Road? I couldn't get anywhere else.
Yeah.
I was just like, why is it sending me here? I shouldn't be on the
road. Why can't I go down there now? What's going on? Why am I over here? Why is there a bus here?
I can't remember where I was trying to get. I think I was trying to get from bottom of town, bottom of Leeds. We've got, where...
We used to be able to go up past the town hall, didn't you? And now you can't go.
Yes.
Yeah, they make you go off, so you can't cross the hedgerow now.
Yeah, I was trying to get to theatre. So I was trying to get to the carriage works from being down by Dunell Mills, which is at the bottom of town. Yeah. And we've got our store there. We've got like a building. We haven't got a building. There's a building. We hire a massive room in it. Mm-hmm. Our theatre does, and we pay rent for it. And we have all our furniture and sets and all that stuff. Their costumes, everything, props and stuff. And I was trying to get back to theatre and just did not. I ended up going round the houses. Well, from the city about 4 times. It took me about half an hour to do a 5-minute drive. Yeah. So, yeah, not impressed with the new ones. But I like the idea that they're making things more pedestrian. I really do. I like that. I like the city square that they've managed to keep some of the statues. So I thought they were getting rid of it all. So they've kind of kept a circle where people can have a lunch, and it's very pretty. But they've also got a massive space where they have the Christmas market, and I can see the event space and the potential there, especially with the change at the railway as well, at the station. But just trying to navigate it. I want to be able to say that, we'll get the bus in, it's fine. But when you're carting costumes and props and stuff, I need my car to be able to get into the centre. And also, if we want people to come and use facilities and go to the theatre and go to places, I think it has to be a choice. And they're trying to make it where it isn't a choice because there's no parking. And, there is, but it's just miles away from anywhere. Anyway, it's good, but it's also annoying.
Do we want to say anything else on climate change, work-wise?
No, I don't know anything about climate change. In fact, just don't ask that question, then just edit that bit and just put, I don't know anything about climate change. You've got me. See? This is going to be horrible. Whatever I've said, you're going to make it some sort of
This is why you get a copy.
I kick puppies, something like that.
Well, that's going to be the social media post.
I'm going to put that. Did a really good podcast tonight. Mentioned that I kick puppies in my spare time. Yeah, I don't have any animals. There's no mistreating, just my children.
I'm going to stop you talking there before you say anything else that incriminates you.
It's a good job.
So we've done all the terrible decade things affecting you questions. So now we're on the things that you could do questions, or things you might do differently. So I'm going to start us off with the change question. And you can think about your day job and the book swap, or one or the other, however you want to answer it. But if you could change any 3 things about your work, what would you change?
Oh, about my work. So I'm going to give 3 different job areas, if that's all right.
Yeah.
Because I love CAP. I love Christians Against Poverty. And I've only been there 10 months, so I don't think the bubble's going to pop, to be honest with that, because it's not popped yet. You know how when you get really into a society or a job or a whatever, you end up seeing behind the curtain sort of thing. I've not done that yet. It's not popped. I'm still absolutely high and on fire for my work. So something I would change at work, I guess I know that even though I enjoy my job and I'm reasonably good at it so far, I'm still learning, I would like to do a different job within the organisation. So I know that what I said to myself is I'd give this 2 years and then I'd see where else I thought I could fit, or what else I could offer to the charity. So I'm going to keep my eyes out over the next year to see if there's another department that I might want to shadow and maybe work towards, perhaps applying for in time. But change-wise, apart from personally, they just do an amazing job. And actually, the one thing I would change is the system that they use, but they're actually updating that at the moment, because the system is so hard to get my head around. I'm used to quite high-tech coming from the bank, and this is a really old system that they use, and it does what it needs to, but they've realised that it's quite old and they need to update, so they're already doing that. So when I came in, it was already on the cards. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the new system and having things a bit more logical. I like logic. I don't sound like I do.
And easy.
But I like things to make sense. Yeah. And when you go around the houses trying to get one thing done, and it frustrates me. So that's what I change at work. Theatre-wise, we're not a charity. We are a non-for-profit organisation, and next year will be our 90th anniversary. Wow. So Leeds Children's Theatre will be 90 years old, and we've had lots of people come through us who have gone on to do, to become famous. And Peter O'Toole is one of them. He started at the Civic Theatre in Leeds with Children's Theatre, and lots of other people. But basically, we've been going a long time, and I just want to make sure that we can stay where we are. And the Carriage Works is a brilliant theatre, and it's community. It's for community arts. And so I want the council, whoever the powers may be within the council, I want them to just acknowledge that it's really important to have a home for these societies to be able to produce affordable theatre for people who either can't afford to go to other theatres and pay extortionate amounts, but also for the people running it and joining in, because it is about the community and about having a place for people to come and be creative, as well as the children that we have coming through our doors who are just amazing, but they learn so much. It's not just about prancing about on stage. They're learning teamwork, and they're learning about the growing confidence,
public speaking in front of people.
Yeah, exactly, all those things. It's
presentation skills, social skills.
You know more than me. You're amazing, and it's all those things. So it'd be really great if they could stop putting the prices up, because we don't want to get to the point, and we are getting to the point where we're having to pass it on to our audience, and that's not what we're about. So but we can't afford to keep on taking the hit. So it's really sad, because we want to be able to keep going, and we absolutely will. because it's not going down on my watch. And so, yeah, it will. But that'd be, just for the powers that be, the wonderful people at the council in the arts and sports and recreation and whatever they call themselves to just see what we do and to come. They do come and see our shows. We always invite them to come and see our shows, get the councillors down, see what work we're doing, and that'd be good. I think that's enough, don't you? Is that enough change?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's very good. So the final one of my questions is on universal basic income. So if there was, do you know what a universal basic income is? Before I ask the question.
Well, it's like fair living wage. Can you explain?
Kind of, yeah. So everyone's getting paid an amount each month. So rather than, means tested benefit, everyone gets an amount of money. So it's a minimum on earnings, not a cap on earnings. That's the way someone explained it. That I think is a really good explanation. So if there was something like that, how do you think that might have changed things for you, work-wise? So, like either change things for you now, or you can think about it retroactively. But yeah, if there was a universal basic income, say today, how might that change things for you work-wise?
Oh, okay. Well, I've been really lucky. I do not get paid a lot. I've not been paid a lot at the bank. I was a worker bee for those 20 years. I didn't become a manager or anything like that. Mainly because I worked part-time.
Yeah, I was going to say you were part-time too. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm more interested in bringing up my kids and doing theatre work, quite frankly.
Yeah.
It just underpinned everything, my work. It was just a constant, I go to
work to live, yeah.
I do my best. I get paid a small amount. The government topped it up, so I can't knock that. And so I guess I did have a basic minimum allowance sort of wage, and I am lucky in that respect that I got to be a worker as well as being a mum, and being there for the kids, and being able to work for a company who would be flexible, and if I needed to swap shifts because of, appointments and dentist and children being off sick and all that stuff, again, really lucky. But I worked for a big corporation, so not everyone does that. And I think, we need everybody in society. We need the bin men, otherwise our bins wouldn't get taken out. And we need people, we need doctors, and we need everybody. We need teachers, and we need everybody doing these jobs that
all those essential workers
from.
Yeah.
And so it is upsetting to me when I think about how when the government turns around and says, well, then you should aspire to do better, you should aspire for a higher wage, when actually not everybody can, and not everybody is made to have that higher wage.
Well, yeah, unless you are a doctor, a nurse, a teacher. Because when they turn around and ask for higher wages, which they have to do through their union, because they can't just say to the government, because, it's paid on a kind of set level, they say, no, how dare you have aspirations? For these people, you're not allowed them.
Yeah, exactly. And to be honest, we've seen a lot of people who, like nurses is a good example, who actually are on the breadline and do get a decent wage. Or decent, compared to other people, I guess. But then I see people, I had an example today where there was a gentleman who just had single allowance on his universal credit, and it's just been put up, I think it's £390 something, and that's for the month, that's it. There was nothing else. And so, and I think this gentleman is applying for other things like PIP, which is just excruciating to go through that process. But then I just, this whole, you should be working, and if not, then we're going to absolutely put you through it to prove that you can't work. And it's just, I think that the people who are, there's such a huge divide, and it's really hard to see, and I see it on a daily basis, and it's really hard to get my head round. I think if there was I don't know how they would work it.
There's a huge
basic wage.
There's a huge amount of people who just really don't understand how much poverty there is like, and how bad
Yeah.
it is and how widespread. There's like huge swathes of people who would,
Yeah,
like,
but it's because they don't experience it.
yeah,
And they don't see it.
and have no idea. It's like the fact that you can have sort of rents in the market that are sort of like, how much do you think people are getting paid? What do you think everyone's on $5,000 a month? Like, what, everyone can afford to spend over $1,000 on rental accommodation, over $1,000 on food, and have, you know, spending money. How many people do you think actually is that? Not many, actually.
No, not many at all. And it's some of the rents that we see are just shocking.
Ridiculous.
It is ridiculous, and the government should be doing something about that as well. Like, that's actually something I'm really passionate about. I guess coming from mortgages, I know darn well. Oh, nearly swore then. I know that people's mortgages are lower than the rent, but that yet they can't apparently afford a mortgage, and yet they've been paying pretty much double in rent.
Yeah,
and they've got a record of showing that they've paid that much.
Yeah,
but that's not good enough because they've actually prioritised their rent in the past. But it's not good enough on paper. You can't afford it. You're a liability. Therefore, we're not going to. So we're going to make sure that you stay in that situation where you are absolutely crippling yourself and you have no sustainable income. You have no disposable income. And you can't live, you know, you're choosing between food and fuel. And that's so, unfortunately, really common, and people don't realise it. And there was a report that came out a couple of months ago, and unfortunately, you know, we are in the fight against poverty at CAP, but child poverty has gone up so much. There's like 4 million children in poverty or something like that. Maybe I've got that wrong, but I think
probably not.
Something like that.
Yeah.
It's just unbelievable. There's 4 million in poverty, something like that. The majority of them are children. They're really high. It's children and elderly, and the elderly are the highest numbers affected by like low income and pretty much what we would call on the breadline of having an unsustainable budget and in their family home. And it's just absolutely sickening, because it's just this huge divide between the haves and the haves not, and the haves who won't acknowledge that this is happening, and it just is. And what are they going to do about it?
And no realization of like how easy it is to fall into homelessness and stuff. And like, you know, so someone could be, you know, because most of these people are working, so your employees one day can suddenly be homeless, you know, and anything can then happen to them on the street. That employee could be really valuable to you. Well, really valuable.
Yeah.
You're not paying them enough to actually live. Like, you know, but if something happens to them and they're gone, you know, and why would they tell you that they're going to be made homeless? Because there's all sorts of shame and embarrassment and stuff like involved in poverty and debt, in being suddenly put in a position where your landlord's gone, oh, I'm going to sell, or I've doubled the rent or whatever.
Yeah. And it could be £100 can make a huge difference. Well, £20 can make a huge difference. It's just, yeah, it's really sad. So I'm not sure about the basic living wage. And it's the
UBI, the Universal Basic Income.
Universal Basic Income. So I'm not quite sure how that would work. And I think still means tested. It sounds horrible, means tested, but I guess I'm in a situation where I'm a single person. I have 2 children. And, you know, and that's recognised in my, you know, it has been recognised in my package, especially when I was part-time. So the fact that I'm working, which is good because they want people to work. So you kind of get rewarded for working, but then you also have an allowance because you have children to look after. And it just must be really hard. And I wouldn't want to be a politician, quite frankly. And I do, like today, we were all kind of moaning this morning about you know, the elections and what we thought, and, you know, who's coming in and, oh, does it matter, and all that kind of stuff. But actually, you know, that they're stepping up, these people. Now, whether they're doing it for the right reasons, we don't know, and some of them don't. But some of them, I'd like to think, are there because they're champions of social justice, or because they care about their local community, or because they actually want to make a difference. And I want those people to be vocal and to be out there and to be in the positions that can make a difference. But everyone's going to have different opinions on it, aren't they? And unfortunately, the people voting and the people also in those positions may not know enough about what's going on as well, and I don't want to acknowledge the poverty and the and the situations. I can't imagine anybody who would come into contact with stuff like that and not want to do something about it. But then I'm not in that position either, am I? So I'm not putting myself. I put myself in the advice. I feel like I've done enough for now. Maybe in a couple of years.
I mean,
like, right.
It depends how far away your helicopter's parked, doesn't it?
That is true. Yeah, the limousines unfortunately at the garage at the moment. So I'll just get my plane. I'll be like John Travolta and have my plane on the car park. Car park? Sorry, on the path. What am I saying? Okay.
It's getting late now.
It is getting late, and I kind of wish this was what you're drinking.
Yeah, you should. I mean, I don't know when I'm having a rum and ginger ale for the listener, because it's been a nice sunny day and I've been indoors editing most of the day, so I thought I deserved a refreshing summer drink. But yeah, I rarely drink on these, but every now and again.
Oh, just for me, right?
Yeah. But I should have said, but you don't always know, like, it depends what kind of mindset because people approach this very differently. Some people will be like quite casually out of work mode, just talking about work in a kind of more sort of, yeah, that kind of attitude. And then other people are more kind of professional. I'm work. Yes, I'm very serious about work. Work is good. Yes. Mm.
Oh, which category do I fall into?
Well, you're talking to me outside of work. You're not being salesy. I mean, although you have kind of bigged up Cap, haven't you? So.
Yeah, but damn right I have. They're amazing. I don't. Right. Well, I don't tend to. I would be a great salesperson if I believed in the product, and
which you do.
That's something that's why. Well, yeah, and I do because I know that we're doing amazing things, and even though I'd like to think that I'm helping to change people's lives, and I know that I've taken phone calls that have changed people's days. I know that I've helped people, and that I am continuing to. But I'm just a little cog in the huge machine, and I'm quite happy with that because we're all working towards a goal. And yeah, and I big up them. I big up Leeds Children's Theatre. That I'm very passionate about them too. But I couldn't sell. That's why I'm not a lawyer, you see, because if I knew someone was guilty, I just could not advocate for them. I couldn't try and defend them. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Who knows? Everybody deserves. I actually spoke to a solicitor about this, and they said, how do you do it? What if you know they did it? Like, what would you do? And they said, basically, everybody deserves a defence. Everybody deserves to have someone, speak for them and to have support, even if, they've done it. But I think that's a bit different to, like, actually trying to get them off if you know they've done it. But anyway.
Okay, so, right, yeah, first thing, I want to get someone from Leeds Children's Theatre for next year, for the 90 years. That has to be a thing, so we have to do that.
Yay! Oh, that'd be so cool!
So, so if you can think of someone or you can rope someone into it, then, yeah, let me know.
Yeah. Definitely.
Second thing is, let's do the socials. So where can people find the various things that you're involved in? So we know that Christmas Book Swap is on Twitter. What's the handle for that?
It's Christmas BK Swap, because we couldn't get the double O's.
Is it Christmas or Xmas?
It's Christmas. Don't try and... Oh, does my noting does that. If I get a card with Xmas on it, ooh. No, it's Christmas. Christmas BK Swap.
Cool.
Yeah.
And Leeds Children's Theatre. I guess we'll just be Leeds Children's Theatre. And
it is. We have a website. It's Leeds. I think it's Leeds-Children's-Theatre. .co.uk. If you Google it, it'll come up. And we have lots of information on there about who we are, what we stand for, what we provide. We do 2 shows a year, and we also have workshops on a Saturday, where we have any kids from 8 onwards can come and join in. So yeah, people can message and ask to come down for a taster, which is free.
Get involved, make donations, buy tickets?
Well, no, we don't. Well, do you know what? We don't ask for donations. We're not a charity, so. But if people come, we do. Obviously, they get involved, or they buy tickets, and we have a membership per year, which helps to go towards insurance and that kind of boring stuff. But yeah, mainly it's £5 for 2 hours on a Saturday morning. It's fairly reasonable. You don't have to stay. The parents don't have to stay. They can go shopping for a couple of hours, and we get to just play about and give them really silly things to do and teach them some things without them knowing that they're being taught, because they're having so much fun. So yeah, all good fun. But that's we also have a Twitter handle for that, but it's I think it's there's Leeds CT. It's not very just we don't really do anything on that. Find us on the website or Facebook. Yeah.
And CAP.
CAP is cap.org. And that's it's just capuk.org. If you can donate to CAP, absolutely. You can also become what we call a life changer, and that's where obviously it's like any other charity where you pay something per month and help to help other people who are in unfortunate, less fortunate positions. Life changers are just amazing. We are funded, we get funding, we get fundraising, we have fundraising, and we're basically just a charity, and we provide a free service, so donations are very much appreciated. But also, if you are having problems with debt or struggling financially and you'd like some advice, then we're a free service. You don't have to be a Christian, and either we can help you or we can help point you to somewhere else. Sometimes picking up the phone is just the hardest. Yeah. It's just the hardest thing.
Yeah, the first step's the hardest one sometimes.
Yeah, it is. And, the people who call in and say, can you help me with my debt? They're just so brave. It's such a brave step. And we look after them. Our new inquiries team are just absolutely amazing. There's going to be someone there who's just going to be lovely, and they'll support and help as much as we can.
Thank you again to Janine for being my guest. Thanks, as always, to all my guests, and thanks to you, Leeds, for being my subject. You can find the book swap at x.com, Christmas BK swap, and you can find out about CAP at capuk.org and Leeds Children Theatre at www.leeds-children's-theatre.co.uk. So if you didn't get a chance to write that down when Janine was saying it, there's a second chance, and the links are also in the show notes, as always. And if there's any links from any episodes, past episodes, anything like that you want me to add in there, drop me an email. This is the last episode of this year, obviously, but there's plenty more recordings from last year for me to still get out, which I will. They will come out. I will tell you more later. Okay. That's it for this year. Hope you had a better 2024 than I did, and I hope your 2025 is better. And that's all I'll say on that. If you'd like to contact me about working hours or any of my guests or their interviews or what the hell I'm on about at any particular moment or anything at all working hours related, even about being a guest, yes, you can do that if you're a lawyer. Then you can email me about the show at workinghourspod@western-studios.com. If you would like to buy Working Hours episodes outside of the main project, either as gift episodes for yourself or for others, you can do that, and you don't need to be based in Leeds for that. If you've been a guest already and you want to buy additional clips or content from your Working Hours episode or interview, then I'm obviously happy to let you do that. If you want to license Working Hours for anything, or if you really want some Working Hours merch, let me know. If you're an individual, a business or an organisation based in West Yorkshire and you would like to sponsor or advertise on Working Hours, get in touch. It will be ridiculously cheap. If you want to contribute financially to Working Hours, you can make a donation of any amount or buy a membership subscription to support regularly. There's plenty of ways to do that, but the easiest way is via Ko-fi. That's ko-fi.com www.western-studios.com/working hours. If you would like to make a version of Working Hours for yourself about your own city, then also get in touch to discuss that and how we might boost each other's projects. If you are a business, an individual or an organisation that is ready to take that next step and make your own podcast or audio content for your own audiences, then you can do that and support Working Hours by buying podcast services from me at Western Studios Leeds Limited. I've made podcasts for businesses, organisations and individuals, as well as the over 140 episodes of Working Hours, and I can give your show as much hands-on or hands-off support as you need. I can only take on so many shows though, so speak to me sooner rather than later about your show needs if you would like to work with me. To make your West Yorkshire podcast, email makemypodcast at western-studios.com. Website and social links for Western Studios Leeds are in the credits. Commissions from outside of West Yorkshire will be considered, but it will cost a little more, just a smidge. Okay, that's me. Remember, listener, no matter what you do, it's impossible for you to understand anything that your salary depends on you not understanding. So work for peace and plan with kindness. Raise your voice and reduce your impact. Be big with your space and big with your dreams. Cheers, ears. Take care out there and be kind to each other, Leeds. Working Hours is produced, recorded, edited and published by Simon Treen for Western Studios Leeds Limited. The music was The Bees from Chopin's Etudes, which is in the public domain and was taken from museopen.org. Go to western-studios.com and use the contact page on the site to drop me a message about either Working Hours or about your own Leeds podcast project. Keep up to date with Working Hours and find out about the other great Leeds podcasts that Western Studios is involved with by following Western Studios Leeds on Facebook at facebook.com/western_studios_Leeds and on LinkedIn, linkedin.com/company/Western-Studios. Western Studios Leeds is available to loaners to help them realise their own podcast projects for only £30 for an hour of audio podcast work or £40 for an hour of video podcast work. Email makemypodcast at western-studios.com with details of your project and what support you want to get your Leeds podcast made. Whatever your podcast question or need, get in touch with Western Studios Leeds.